Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Derek Webb. Derek Webb is a musician you may know from his solo career or his time in Caedmon's Call. We talked about Derek's childhood and his time in college, the current accessibility to music and art, how our kids have so many options for careers, drag queens, emphasizing kindness to your kids, learning how to know yourself, and how to be constantly learning. Derek released Survivor songs this year and is currently on tour. Make sure to go to derekwebb.com to find his tour dates and listen to his music. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad. Derek, thanks for doing a podcast episode with us.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Just basics. How many kids do you have? Ages? All that good stuff.
Yes, I have two. I have two teenagers, 16 and 17.
Mm.
And so both in high school. And they are with us part of the time.
Okay.
They're with their mom part of the time and with us part of the time. And so it's kind of one of those half of summers and every other weekends and kind of that kind of deal. Yeah.
What's there? I have three kids.
Okay.
I have a 9, 7, and 3-year-old. Yeah, the 9 and 7-year-old are 23 months apart. What's the age difference for your daughters?
I think like 19. So they're really close. Yeah. Really super close.
Yeah. I always, if any of my friends have kids like that close together, I'm like, for the first 2 years, you'll think the entire time, what have I done? And then like a couple years later, you'll be like, oh, they're a little bit older. They're best friends. Everything's great. But having two under diapers was like, we wanted this. We wanted this.
Right.
We wanted this.
But there's also something about kind of getting that whole season behind you all in one run.
Yeah.
Like you stay in the gear and you stay in the to bring the weird food that they can eat to all the places, and then all at once it's like liberating because you shed it all, and then all of a sudden everything gets a lot easier and they can eat like regular people and they can go on planes. And I mean, there's something about there's a strategy to both.
Yeah.
And there's probably like my brother and I are almost 4 years apart. And so we were like the kind of age difference where we would always just miss each other. Like I was a freshman in high school and he was a freshman in college. Like we would miss each other at all the different, and we weren't close enough. I have friends who I guess are about that far away from their siblings and they are close. My brother and I were not especially close when we were young. He was more like having a third parent in the house. Cause he was a really good kid and I was a really bad kid also. So that dynamic, like kind of played itself out anyway, and now we're insanely close, like
really?
We're super close now. Yeah. And, so I don't really know. It's just interesting how, I mean, you go through seasons with siblings like that. For a while, maybe we got something in common that's making us real close and we can totally get each other. And then all of a sudden it's like dead to me for a while.
Yep.
I get it. So
Okay. So I have to ask, you were a bad kid growing up. Now looking back as an adult, do you feel like you were that bad of a kid, or are you kind of like, I wasn't that bad?
Yeah, I was pretty bad. I was pretty bad.
You're like, if I was my own kid, I would have hated.
Well, I mean, at least our 16-year-old is wired very much like me.
Okay.
Much to my chagrin sometimes. And so that can be kind of rough, but no, like I wasn't as bad as like some things I could imagine and name. Like I got regularly threatened with military school for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it was one of those, like I would do another thing after already being in the throes of already being in trouble for a thing. I don't just mean with my parents. I mean with my school. Like,
gotcha.
It was rough.
Authority.
Oh yes. I could tell you all the stories. And then like there'd be like a pamphlet for like an actual military school that would like show up under my door. And it's like, start checking this out because this is where you're headed kind of thing. Like, start picking out
pick out your bunk.
Precisely. That's exactly right. So, but I got through it, I got through it. Those just weren't great years, those are hard years for me. And I think that's true of a lot of kids. And it's, And what we have to remember, and what's good for me now as a dad to remember, and I do feel like I am aware of this with my kids and their interests or talents or skills or whatever it is, that like when you're that age, when you're a kid, and especially when you get into adolescence and you're in, middle school and high school, like for me, the things that I was naturally good at were not things that were being measured or valued in any way during those ages. The things that were important were academics, sports, social. Like those are the things that we're watching. Those are the things we're measuring. Those are the things that we're scoring you on. That's what has value. That's like how you like progress in this world. And I, at the time, was like, I've only really ever been good at one thing, and that's music. And so like, and I'm not good at anything else. I'm like, all of it's in one really concentrated spot for me. I don't have like anywhere else. I can't do anything else. And so when I came to it really young. I was like single digits. I was 7 years old, 6, 7 years old when I started playing guitar. And so I had this, and it was unfortunately, it's a solitary thing. So I would come home on headphones with my stereo and learn, every song on Van Halen 1 or whatever, for a few hours. And then, completely checked out of school, like just failed my way through everything and somehow got out of all of it legally and didn't have to keep taking it or going back or whatever. But like, I was good at stuff that nobody knew about and nobody cared about. And my parents, as supportive as they were, I don't think, cause it was the, 80s, into the 90s, early 90s, they didn't understand what I was going to do with any of this. And like, but you can't, make a living. It was way before the internet, God knows, but like, you can't make a living with any of this. And so you're going to have to be, and we were raised kind of, upper middle class. And so it's like, great, you can be the lawyer who plays guitar on the weekends, or you can be the something who plays guitar on the weekends, but this is not a job. You can't, it's a waste of time to be. But that said, they were always extremely supportive of it though. And so with my kids, oh my God, it's a whole different world. And
so much, isn't it?
You can do almost anything as a living now. It's crazy. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. And so I think that we have dads more our age have the advantage of having come up in the world that we did and being able to be more open-minded with our kids about like, okay, like you're weirdly really good and interested in this thing, that there's no reason that couldn't be a legit thing that you could do, like let's look into that. Let's research and figure out how we can you try it out and find opportunities for you to, get in there and try. Anyway, so it's just interesting how that works.
It is not like, because whenever we were growing up, it was still the overly, I don't know what the correct term for it is, but like you go to high school, you do well in high school, you go to college, you do well in college, then you go to grad school or you go do this, and that's what success looks like.
Right.
And now most of us have gone to college and everything, and then spent what I studied in college, I didn't do. So like, there's more of those stories of people our age being like, why would I communicate to my child, you have to go to college whenever I'm not even doing the thing I studied in college? Why would and there's so many other options.
Right. And like, that was definitely, again, upper middle class. That was definitely the expectation in my house, that you're going to go to high school, then you're going to go to college, and then you're going to, and I could not have imagined going to college. There's no way I could go to college because I did not like high school. I was not good at high school. That was not a good environment for me in general. And my kids, when they were little, started off going to Montessori a little bit when they were super little. And that, I remember seeing that deal and being like, bro, if this had been, and maybe it was not where I was, not on my parents' radar, but if there'd been something like this, where there were other ways to learn all this stuff, oh my God, I probably could have excelled and realized some of my gifts or skills way earlier than I did. But so it's like, what's funny and kind of a bummer is when I got out of high school, there was such an expectation I was going to go to college that I started, it's its own story, but I started college, didn't really go, and then and basically told my parents that I was going to college when I wasn't.
Yeah.
In Houston, where I lived.
Okay.
I'd moved in with my brother who was going to med school at the time. And I even told my brother that I was going to college. Like I wasn't. I went the first week and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do this. And I have to do this. I'm not doing this. And I just knew it was going nowhere. I knew I was not going to get anywhere in that situation.
Mhm.
And it was the first semester of what would have been first semester of college for me in 92 is when I met the people in Caedmon's Call, when we started Caedmon's Call and me and some friends down there in Houston. And so like that had started and I'd been in bands my whole life. And so I had a very strong sense like, this is special. This is going somewhere. Like this is worth my time and I'm willing to risk it.
Yeah.
So I would literally tell my brother in the morning, like he'd be going to med school and I was like, all right, see ya. I'm off to college. And I would like go out and get in my car and like drive somewhere. And then I knew he'd be gone and I'd just go back and just hang out at the apartment all day. And then he'd come back. And he's like, how was school? I was like, great. It was like, math and history. I didn't know what
I learned the things.
I learned that. Yeah, it's again, it's like, so I had such a fun day at Army.
Yeah.
So, but it was like that. And then it wasn't until after the band started taking off and then everything I thought was going to be okay. We got a record deal. And then I like went to everybody and I was like, hey, by the way.
Yeah, I've been faking it.
I never did go to college.
Yes.
Anyways. Yeah, but it's with our kids, because like you're saying, like, if you want to do a thing that requires a degree,
do it. You have to go get it. Yeah.
Through college. But if not, like School of Hard Knocks, man, that's what I mean. I knew I was going to do music. I joined a band. That was my college experience, and it lasted me 10 years. Apparently, that was a long program. That first band I was in for 10 years, and then a solo after that. But so it's so interesting and fun to be able to talk to them and be like, "What do you want to do? And does that require a degree? And if not, man, let's just do like what we do, and let's get on YouTube and let's learn how to do that." Like that.
Yeah. Well, it's also very different because because right now, like you also have your own personal example of like, did I go to college? Did I enjoy college? What was the benefit of it? And you're like, I didn't take any of this seriously. And it's like, oh, so, and if it would have been an option to you back then to look at your parents and be like, hey, this isn't the path for me. You're like, I would have hoped your parents would be like, oh, let's talk about it then. Because like I went to Belmont. And like, there were lots of people there, like my freshman and sophomore year, where they're like, hey, I just got an offer to go gig with this guy, to go on tour, to be a guitar tech, to go do this. And like, the reason I came here was for these opportunities. So why am I don't really want to take mathematical reasoning whenever I can go be a guitar tech for a guitarist I love and learn and actually practice a career. In those moments, I'm like, I've talked to some of those people, they've gone back, finished up a degree and all that. But like, with music stuff, if the moment is in front of you, you say yes or you miss it, and that's just how it works.
You hope to get after you graduate, take it right now.
Exactly. Yes.
And what's funny, and what you'll get about Belmont is that like the thing that people say about Belmont is like the people who like graduated, like the people who are the graduates from Belmont, you're like, oh, you didn't make it. I'm so sorry.
That's right, because you had to stay long enough to graduate.
You graduated, like you got all through the program. That means nothing ever happened for you.
That's right. They were just publishing people. That's what it turned into.
There we go. And that's important. But like, it's true. Like all my friends, freshman, sophomore, junior, it starts getting a little dicey. Getting close now, but wound up getting gigs and jumped on the road. And that's what you're there for.
It is. And
you don't I can't think like over the years that I have had bands on the road with me sometimes and hired musicians and studio and whatever else. I ever remember asking somebody where they got their degree when they came in to play on a record or to go out on a tour and play. Nobody cares, and most of the people who I've worked with, even on the professional side in things like publishing, whatever else, they just got opportunities and started doing it when they were, I mean, like that, again, like it's a great time to be alive, and it's great. It's just a fascinating time to be stewarding a young person trying to figure out what they want to do, because like everything in their lives, it's like, there's so much more nuance.
Yeah.
And complexity in the world that they can explore and try out. And I love it. I just love that there's so much more language for people to talk about themselves and to kind of identify themselves and try it on and see how it feels. And it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's funny because like for my 9 and 7-year-old, whenever your kids are like less than 10, I feel like, they play dress up all the time and they're trying on different hats and different characters constantly.
Absolutely.
And as an adult, I also put on different hats every single day, but I don't look at it with that much of a playful mindset. It's more like the crap. I got to call this person and ask what's going on here. I got to be more firm and responsible and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, no kid's going to put on that hat. No one's going to be like the middle management hat for today. But I mean, I think in Bluey they do play around like middle management. But anyway, your kid is sitting there trying on different characters, different hats.
One of your kids is bossing around one of your younger kids and delegating. They're definitely playing like middle manager.
They are.
It is good.
So, but it's interesting because like at some point in time, I think you stop realizing that like most of our days you go through it and you are not that you are a character, but you do kind of step into a character in some scenarios, which is just a fascinating like thing that kind of messes with my head sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and what we talk about with our kids a lot too, and this is interesting. It's probably helpful for them as they are trying to figure out what they want to do and kind of what they're kind of compelled to. Like the language that I have often heard for like calling or like vocation or
purpose.
Whatever, yeah, is like basically what you're looking for. And what we talk about a lot around here is interest and talent and opportunity. It's like the intersection of those three things. If you can find something you have all three, then that's an option. Absolutely. That could be your thing. Like, cause if you only have 2 out of 3, it's probably not going to work. You have interest and talent, but no opportunity and talent, but no interest. I mean, like you could be super good at something and have no interest in doing that thing. So, but as we're looking for that stuff, it's what's been interesting. So my wife and I are both musicians. And so we're kind of we're entrepreneurs. We're small business owners.
You are. Yep.
So what's interesting is that they get to see, unlike what I had, like my dad was in retail and he was then kind of in the corporate kind of executive world of that retail situation. My mom actually was a hairdresser and a stylist and wound up she was very entrepreneurial because she wound up owning her own shops and running boutiques out of them and renting other space and kind of she was definitely a small business owner, but and I wish I had picked their brains more when I was younger about how they were doing those things then, because they did it very successfully. But for me, what's interesting is for them to see what we're doing and to see, it's just a good lesson. It's like a good lesson for anybody trying things like this. And so many of the jobs now are freelance and more gig economy and things like that, especially at different seasons of your life. And it's been interesting for them to watch us, and they see me, like make a record once every couple of years, once every 18 months, I'll record a record. And then, I'm going out on the road, I'm playing shows, but a lot of the time, like most of the time, the majority of the time, I'm not doing my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I'm not. You don't get to do your favorite thing the majority of the time. You have to learn new skills, and you have to do things you don't really like doing in order to do the thing you like the most a little bit of the time.
Yep.
And so like the average weekend when I'm playing shows, 3 shows in a weekend, that's basically, 3 to 4 hours of doing my favorite thing and then like 30 hours of commuting, which is really like by hours what I do for a living. I commute. I'm a professional commuter.
Yeah.
And, but I think it's good for them to see like, oh, like even if I'm going to do something I love, and it also kind of puts some realism to it for them where they're like, oh, like even if I'm a professional, YouTube gamer, I don't know what, whatever they want.
Yeah.
The majority of the time you're going to be learning how to edit videos. You're going to be learning how to tinker with algorithms and figure out how to, but like some of the time, you'll do your favorite thing, but mostly you're going to be learning other skills. You're going to be learning how to work spreadsheets and how to budget and so that's been a really good thing because we're both in a similar line of work in that way. And so the kids get to watch us doing our job. And a lot of them, they're like, wow, like this is part of what you do. Like this doesn't seem that fun. I'm like, it's not that fun.
Not
in the service of subsidizing my ability to do my favorite thing. And the one thing I feel like I'm, that I have that intersection of those 3 things, it's worth it. And it's part of it. And so they have a more realistic sense of like what it could look like for them to like work. And
No, I mean, admin is necessary for anything that anyone does. Like I was talking to one of my friends who tours, and he had like finished a leg of a tour. And before he went back to Nashville, him and his wife like rented an Airbnb for like 2 to 3 days because they knew the second they got back to their house, the next phase of like parenting and all that would start. And they're like, we haven't checked our email like in 5 days. So we've got, we've got like a week's worth of email to respond to. We've got all this stuff. And like, that's not the fun thing. It's not like, hey, we went and played Aspen and Boulder and now we're going to do admin for 2 days. Like that's not, it's the reality though of being a small business owner entrepreneur, which is what you are nowadays if you're a musician.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And so that has been really like, that's been good and here's what's crazy. So my kids both being teenagers, like even as I am trying to navigate the ever complex and changing world of being a professional musician, being a creative, a professional creative, which is hard and getting harder all the time. And I love it. You have to love the creative problem solving of it. You have to love reinventing it annually and figuring out all the new tools and how to survive the changes. Like when we went from CDs to Spotify and there's the economics of all that. And anyways, what's crazy is like, we will sit around and just be talking about it. And it's crazy how growing up with what they have in terms of technology and with the internet and just the presumption of all these tools and all this change, like I learned so much hearing them say, well, what if you just tried this? Or what if you tried doing it like this? And I'm like, I would never, that's crazy. I never would have thought of that. It's just so great to be able to like learn from them because they are growing up in such a dramatically different world than I did. And I grew up in such a dramatically different world than my parents did. Obviously we're seeing, it's Moore's law, but we're seeing like just the exponential change of reality that, and by the time they have kids maybe someday, and I cannot imagine what that world's going to be like and just how insane the curve is getting. It's just almost straight, vertical, in terms of just the rate of change and what they have grown up with and what I grew up with. And so we learn a ton. We just learn a ton just talking to them about what we're doing in our jobs and our lives, and just hearing their random instincts is like, and watching them listen to music and how they're discovering, especially for me, like,
yes,
there'll be some random thing. I'm like, and like, especially my 17-year was like, will be like, here's this crazy band, this awesome band. And very proud of like how few monthly followers this band has. Like I found this band that has like 375 monthly followers and they're so amazing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, how did you even find this? And hearing the random breadcrumbs
pathway. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's what I need to figure that out. Because I'm trying to help people find me.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to be found.
Yeah.
So how in the world do I, and so it's great. It's just great having teenagers around. Is awesome.
I mean, it's hard to explain to people or like to explain to the youth that like whenever growing up, like I'm from Southern Indiana, so small Midwest town or smallish. And like the only way I heard new music, because you couldn't order CDs online, like whenever I was growing up, it wasn't until like in college when I could. So like I hoped that Best Buy carried the CD that I wanted to listen to, or FYE. And if that didn't happen, then I was hopeful that whatever I downloaded from LimeWire didn't kill my computer later. So those were my two options for finding new music. That's right. Yeah. Back, Lars Ulrich shows up at my door,
grappling down from a helicopter.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you download 3 Metallica songs yesterday?
Lars,
I did. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but like, it's hard to like explain. Like, I remember when Spotify came out and like all the albums, like I had never really dived into Bruce Springsteen or Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
And then like I finally had access to all of their albums all at once. And I was just like almost over inundated by like the ability to consume so much beautiful art. And I'll be interested to see if like our kids, because they've grown up with so many options, if they'll be better at deciphering what they like, because they've always had the options to say no to things. Whereas like, is it in front of me? Sure, I guess I'll listen to it.
You're totally right. But the problem then is you make such snap judgments about like, you listen to a thing and within seconds you're on to another thing. It was funny as my our 16-year-old, she like has this thing where when she is DJing in the car, when it's her phone hooked up to the Bluetooth thing and she's the one calling the shots, it's like we never I would say probably less than 1% of the time do we hear the end of a song.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We get all the way to the end.
Yep.
It'll be like maybe mid first chorus and it just hard stops into another song. I'm like, let the song play. And she's like, no, I heard enough of that one. And I'm like, are you serious?
But no, thank you.
And whereas like I listen to whole albums, like I will put on a record at song 1 and I will finish it. Like I have to.
Yeah.
So it's just, it is fascinating. Everything you're saying is like their discernment and decision-making processes and skills are so different. Like, and unfortunately it really mirrors the world that we're in and the way, even in my business, like you used to, like you think about all the bands that I grew and maybe we grew up on, these big, amazing bands. Like, and again, I'm going to very much date myself here, but I'm talking about like the last big run of big superstar bands, established bands like U2 and REM and Coldplay and, you know, like name the big bands. And like these bands and these artists, you know, they put out like 2 or 3 records before it really caught on, before they figured it out and they had any kind of hits. Like U2 had put out like 3 records before Joshua Tree or something. And they were not really that successful and it wasn't really happening, but they were on a record label that was like invested in their development and saw some greatness in them and then came up around them with resources and guidance and mentoring and helped them and supported them. Nowadays, you don't get 3 records. You don't even get 3 tracks. Like if your single doesn't pop in one business cycle in 3 months, then you're done, and you don't get a second shot at that.
Yeah.
And it's the speed of everything is just through the roof compared to what it was when I was their age. And that is exactly the way they're consuming it. They're like, they give it exactly the same chance that any one of those record executives, if there still are any around,
right,
are giving these singles, that they're listening to. They're like, nah, I don't hear it. And they're on.
Yep. No, I mean, if you want, this is one of my favorite music side tangents is normally the third album is whenever a band finally knows how they are.
They find their rhythm. They find
Computer. Okay, Computer is the third album. X and Y, I feel like Coldplay definitely figured out who they were.
Yeah.
There's a lot. First album is always very impressive. Sophomore slump can definitely be a real thing. And then by the third album, they're like, hey, we know who we want to be.
Exactly.
And this is it.
You find your voice, you find your perspective.
You do.
Yep.
So no, it's that I could probably overanalyze way too much. Because like, OK Computer is just freaking perfect. But you don't get to OK Computer without Pablo Honey and the Bends. And also the Bends and Pablo Honey are both fantastic albums.
Fantastic.
So,
better than most. And
yes.
I don't know what number Joshua Tree was for you two, but that'd be fascinating. It might not be exactly 3, but that's probably close. And I'm just thinking, all right, well, what was that for me? Well, I had 10 years. Like my third record was this Mockingbird record.
Yeah.
I've always interestingly said that feels like my debut record to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because I put out my first record, which was this record, Shall Go Free, right out of Caedmon's. And to me, that felt like all the songs, and it was songs I'd written for our band. And I didn't realize I was about to start a solo career at the time. There's a whole story to that. And so that whole record felt like kind of just a Caedmon's record, but with just my songs on it. It felt weird. And then my second record was kind of like me clearing my throat creatively and just I figured, okay, well now who am I when I'm not in Caedmon's Call? Yeah. And then Mockingbird, my third record, was the first record that I was like, okay, I think I got my perspective now. I think I know what my voice is.
Yep.
And that is where I started. So you're totally right. Like it's crazy.
It is. I mean, Suburbs by Arcade Fire, like it's just, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop the list now because it was one of my all-time favorites. But all that to say, I do think creative energy, trying to find your voice with that is fascinating because like what I'm asking of you as a musician, as a creative type, is to share your vulnerability with me so that I can relate to it.
Yes.
That's it. That's my hope. It's like, hey, Derek, I don't want your life to be too awful, but if you could have some pain so I can have some catchy songs, I'd really appreciate it.
Or if it could just be awful at the same time that mine is.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. If you could deconstruct the same time I deconstruct, that'd be fantastic.
Well, that's kind of the magic of the way music works now. And like you were saying, versus our kids, like when records came out when I was a kid, it's when they came out is when
it was.
Now, like a record that I put out 10 years ago, somebody could find it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is release day for that record as far as that person's concerned.
Yep.
It comes out tomorrow. I mean, for those people. Now I actually do have a record coming out tomorrow, but the point is
very literal for this conversation.
Yeah. Whenever someone is hearing this podcast,
yes,
for that person, it could be coming out right now.
Yes.
Check it out. It's 10 years from now. But it's true. It's true. It's really, and I remember like staying up, and to hear records, like to go and like lining up at record stores that would stay open for big releases, and you could get it like that night at midnight, and you go put it on and like sit with headphones, listen to the whole thing. But I'll tell you, with my kids, they do, although the majority of their listening seems to be this rapid fire thing that we've been talking about, they do though, both of them do seem to have certain artists and types of music that they do revere and is meaningful enough to them to where they really will like sit and experience it. And it's not all of it, but they do. And I don't know if all kids are doing this or just, musicians' kids.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool that like that it does still have that power, even kids these ages, to go pretty deep. I mean, when I was a kid, it was different, but I was listening to whole albums and I was going really deep with artists and they're just going really wide, with artists. And there's something cool about that too.
Yeah. No, it is cool. Cause like the type of kid I was I would find out that a band existed and I would try to go back I would try to find their first album, listen to everything. And like, it's really cool. Cause my 9-year-old daughter is actually doing that with Taylor Swift. And which like, she will have a Taylor Swift album and she will listen to it start to finish for like 2 weeks. And then she'll be like, hey,
that one for a while.
Yes. And she'll be like, I've been listening to Speak Now at all. And I'm like, cool. This have you listen to Speak Now? And I'm like, cause I don't know if it's like attention span or what, but like to me, an album is such like it's a letter to who you were at that phase of your life. It's like tattoos. Like you should be embarrassed by your tattoos because it is a living representation of this is who you were whenever this happened.
Dude, I love that. And I say this exact thing all the time because I've been in this job for a weird long time. I've literally been in this job for 33 years.
Oh man, yeah.
Because we started Caedmon's in 92.
Yeah.
But anyways, whenever I play a show, because a few things I've said that goes right to what you're saying, and then I'll stop interrupting you and get back.
Hey, you're good. You're fine. You're fine.
It is that, like if you've done your job, and I think the job for a creative person that I like, one definition I like, is to look at the world and describe it. Simple as that. Look at the world, tell us what you see. Because that is going to speak to the current moment you're in, who you are at that time, the world you're looking at, and all that's going to change. You're going to change and the world's going to change. Even standing in the same place at a different time, you're going to see and describe a totally different thing. And that is how it should work. And if you do the job long enough and you're vulnerable and honest along the way, there's like a 100% chance that you're going to eventually disagree with everything you've ever written. Because you're going to come into new information. You're a person, like you're not going to have it all figured out at the beginning. You have to be willing to be a public hypocrite. And be able and have to go back and say, oh, nope, I was wrong about that for sure. Or at least I think I was. Right now, I think I was wrong about that.
Correct. Yeah.
Maybe I'll think I'm wrong about this in the future and I'll have more songs to come or whatever. But what I always tell people is like, I will play any song you want from any era. Yeah. I'm grateful for all of it if it brought us together and connected us. I'm grateful for that and I'll play it. But I am not, as I stand before you, the person who wrote maybe your favorite song. But I trust that young man that when he looked at the world with the information that he had and tried to describe it for us, he did the best, most honest job that he could, and I will therefore cover his material. But that is essentially what I'm doing. They're cover songs, I'm not the guy who wrote those songs.
I'm a really big David Bazan fan, and he did. I think he did. It's hard to find a friend. There's one of his albums where it's like the 20th. He did Control and the other album from start to finish, and it was freaking fantastic.
That was a recent tour, I think.
It was like 2 or 3 years ago. I saw him at Basement East. And he, before did one of the songs, I can't remember which one it was, but he was like, just so you know, I'm aware the song's kind of misogynistic and I wouldn't have wrote the song now, but it's on the album. And I said, I played the entire album. So here we go. And also if a guy talks to you like this character in this song talks to you, you should probably get out of that relationship.
That's so great. I love it. I love it. And boy, like I swear I'm not trying to bring anything around my work, but it is crazy having spent 10 years in a band that had most of our success in the Christian music world. And then a 25-year solo career, a lot of the first half, at least of which, 2/3 of which were in kind of the more fringy, but still Christian music world. And now to be kind of not identifying in terms of my spirituality and my opinions about invisible reality. I don't identify that way anymore. And I love my friends who do, and I don't have any problem with that. I love to talk about it. But like my new record that I'm putting out is like empowering and encouraging soundtrack for my queer friends and loved ones. And it's like I had a record that I put out last where like I did a video with a great friend of mine where I like, she put me in drag, and I never could have imagined, you want to talk about like the younger version of myself. I don't know what I would have thought about what I'm currently doing.
Right.
Other than, well, that probably tracks because look at what I've always done. I've always been contrary, and I'm always trying to, disrupt or be a thorn in somebody's side. And at this point, I'm probably a thorn in my younger self's side.
Probably.
That's okay.
Also, I must say that Flamey Grant is one of my favorite drag queen names. Just fantastic. Just so good.
And
so
the
good.
whole best drag name maybe I've ever heard. Because not only is it fantastic, but it's such a beautiful homage to, like Flamey reveres Amy Grant. And and it just tells you everything you need to know about a drag queen named Flamey Grant. This is the best. Anyways, I love that. Glad you're aware of Flamey.
Yes.
Because
our big pandemic watch was RuPaul's Drag Race. Oh, yeah. So my mom and sister were like, you need to watch this. And my wife's sister was also like, why haven't you watched it? If you want to talk about creativity, I do think like drag queens, the embodying of a character is like a fascinating level of creativity that I don't have inside of me, that I just look at it and I'm like, how did you come up with any of these ideas?
Right.
I saw none of this in front of me, and you created a very fascinating world.
And it's something and I mean this in the most respectful, honoring way possible. There's something very childlike about it.
There's a lot of wonderment and whimsy. Because
it's so brave.
Yeah.
Like there is not preoccupation with what's going to happen to me or what's anybody going to think. It's like, this is who I am. This is what I love. This is what I'm interested in. This is like my instincts. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this on. And it's just like somebody who just cares not about the consequences or what anyone's going to think when it comes to coming into the world and bringing their full selves and being everything they are all at once. And like, that is a thing that we lose. That's awful. Like, I mean, adults are so preoccupied with what everyone's going to think about everything all the time. And it's just all this, those are adult preoccupations that really we would be better off without. I get that in the short run, it's very kind of natural selection. I mean, like the people who do pretty well are the people who can get in front of all that and can be kind of manage expectations and manage what people think about them. But, then there's like people who just are so unapologetically themselves that they just come in like a bull in a china shop and disrupt all that and just blow all the convention, all the binaries out of the water and create a whole other amazing world that you could occupy and be in. And I love that. Yeah. I want that in my kids' lives, in my life. I want to be, and that's why Flamey is one of my dearest friends. And I love that whole world. Yeah. And I've learned so much from Flamey. And talk about entrepreneurs.
Yeah, totally.
There are
hustle, much hustle.
There are no harder workers in the entertainment space than drag queens. They are good. And if you watch things like, the RuPaul, any of those kind of shows where like the reality competition ones, they have to be good at so
everything
many things that nobody on any other show is that good at that many things. Yeah. Yeah. But drag queens are so good at so many things. And it's like, you have to be a stand-up and a designer and a makeup artist and invent personas and be a copywriter. And I mean, you have to be able to do everything. It's insane. It's so inspiring.
My mom and I always talk about how with every season of RuPaul's Drag Race, how do people not know there's going to be a sewing challenge? You have these newer queens that come on and they're like, I have to sew. And you're like, every single season has multiple sewing challenges. What did you think was going to happen? You can't hot glue this dress together. You know that. Exactly. You've watched this before.
It's like going on Survivor and not knowing how to make fire out of flint. Like, what are you talking about?
You guys don't have a bathroom here?
You're going to have to make fire. Get a flint and come up, figure it out before you get to the island, bro. Anyway,
yes.
That's hysterical. That's amazing.
But all that to say also with that, I think it's fascinating to raise kids because my parents always tried to straddle this line. There is a way that society expects you to act, and then there's you. And you do, like, to some extent, teaching your kid how do you play the game but not lose yourself in the game is something that I feel like most people struggle with for their own selves every single day.
Absolutely. And I love that you just said it, because what it makes me think of is early on, and this is me projecting, and so you're going to hear in these comments a little bit about how I was raised and how my parents were and how I want to be different with my kids. Like, so academics were just a huge thing for my parents and how I did in school. And probably, as I said at the very beginning, all the things that are being noticed and measured and valued during those early years, academics and sports and social, like those are the things. And I feel like I was always not a disappointment to my parents, but I knew that I was never doing what they hoped and thought I could do. And that's sweet of them to think I could. They seemed to think I had potential, but I just was never living up to it ever in any of those categories. But I remember kind of once our kids were school age and starting into where it's like, probably not elementary, but starting in middle, and definitely in high school, where it's really hard and you're being, and there's a lot of your identity that can get really wrapped up in it. And some of that's just unavoidable. And some of that's just the journey of self-discovery and figuring out how to figure out what of these things that are part of the things you are doing, how much of those things are part of who you are. One of the things that I remember saying to my kids really early, and I say it to them all the time, is like, just so you know, when it comes to like a report card, or it comes to a progress report, or it comes to a call I got from a teacher or a situation with whatever, what I tell them all the time is, just so you know, I receive no information about you from your teachers and your school. I know you. I know exactly who you are. I know the kind of person you are. I know your imagination, your creativity, your smarts. I know all this about you. So just so you know, I am never coming into any new information about you from your school. That has nothing to do with who you are, nothing to do with how I see you, nothing to do with because I feel like that was such a thing for me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I was just under the shadow of that. I remember when I was in high school, my parents, it got to be so hysterical that I could never make good grades. I could never manage to get more than maybe one A, mostly D's and
Yeah.
a lot of F's. But my parents got to the point where they were like, okay, if you can make straight A's, like it got more and more ridiculous
Sure.
what they would give me
Yeah.
if I could make straight A's. And it
Yeah.
got to be why they were like, okay, we'll fly you to the moon. I mean, they knew that it would never happen, so they could promise
Sure.
anything.
Yeah.
So they were like, but if you got straight A's, we'll do this for you or that for you. And I never, ever, literally ever did. I never one time ever got straight A's on a report card. But it's like, and I always kind of felt like a thing I never accomplished, a thing I wish I could have done. And I wasn't that person. And it's also interesting, you know, when you've got kids going between houses and so you really only have so much time and so much influence and you don't really know what they're hearing everywhere. And, you know, so it's like, you're not the sole influence, you know. My other friends who are in a similar situation as mine, where they've got, you know, kind of co-parenting and you got some kids going back and forth. You just have to like realize the thing and get comfortable with the thing that all parents get comfortable with just a lot sooner, which is, oh, I'm not the only and main primary influence in my kid. That always happens to everyone eventually, but it just happens maybe sooner when you're not with your kids all the time.
Yeah.
But we always really, really try to instill in them like, hey, like and this is back to what you were saying a second ago. We're going to figure this out. This is the system. This is the structure we're in right now with you. We're in this school situation. We just got to get you out of it. But I receive, and you should not receive any information about yourself from how well you do or how well you test or how well you whatever. None of this matters. And even the social stuff, the people who are they're peaking right now. They're just selling. Those poor kids' lives are going to be over in a couple of years, and you're not going to barely be started. It was a nightmare for me. I did not figure out I was so oddly positioned and fit into my life when I was those ages, adolescent and, you know, middle and high school. It wasn't until the couple of years after high school that I really started to figure myself out and figure out where I fit and find my real friends and learn anything about myself. And so it's like just being able to go through all this with them, hearing their stories, hearing them come home and have really hard things that they're experiencing and they're trying to figure out how to get through, to be able to say like, I'm just telling you that the perspective you need to have is that like, this is all reality and everything right now. I know that, but like in 5 minutes, it's literally no one's going to remember any of this. And none of it is going to wind up being, unless you want to assign some meaning to it and say, oh, I'm excelling in academics and I want to go on and be a doctor, a lawyer, an architect or whatever. Yeah. Great. Bring that with you. Assign meaning to it and bring it with you. But don't be burdened by it. Don't be anchored to it. You're going to be amazing and you're going to be fine. And we're going to get through this and let's work together. But this is the system we are in and we have to find a way to get you through it and out of it in one piece. Because we all know, all adults know that all you really have to do is survive adolescence. Because if you can get out of high school alive, man, you'll be fine. Okay.
My brother teaches English.
Awesome, yeah.
And he was always like, he told me like, you know, if you like have a college degree, it might tell you care about the subject, but it mostly just communicates you met requirements. Like you went to the classes, you passed the classes, you did the thing. So like a college degree should hopefully communicate you are really interested in the subject that you studied. But also, I also remember my senior year of college in which I took classes because I needed to get the piece of paper that said I finished college. And mathematical reasoning wasn't my favorite class. Can't tell you a single thing from it. Did I get at least a B in it? Yes, I did. So there we go.
You are a guy who knows how to follow through.
I do. That if someone says, here's the expectation, cool. And the structure that is set here, I have to meet this expectation for me to move on to the next thing. And you know what? That's a lot of life. So
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's exactly what we're talking to our kids about. It's like, we just are going to have to check some boxes in the next couple of years. And don't, if what we're intuiting about you and your skills and your interests is that this isn't going to have to be a big part of your life, maybe after we get out of this, and you're not going to have to go and get really good at learning and operating in this academic structure, then you know what, let's just like go easy on ourselves about it. Let's do the best we can. And let's be respectful of
Be respectful. Yep.
Like be respectful of your teachers. Don't blow it off. Like, let's try, like really try, but don't feel bad if it's just like, oh, I can't figure this out. I can't do it. As long as you are present and you're being respectful of the time and taking advantage of the opportunities you have to learn a bunch of stuff and look for little sparks of, oh, that's interesting for some reason. Tell us about that and let's follow all that. But don't worry about it if it's a weight on you, because we'll get through it together. And so anyways, it's crazy to be on the other end of it and be able to look at a child and say, this really doesn't matter that much and you're going to be okay. And
but also take it seriously. But
your life is not going to be over because you were not able to do the thing that is my expectation for you or whatever. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And more so than ever, probably, because there are just so many amazing, crazy opportunities and niches and details and complexity. And it's awesome.
I think if I can communicate to my kids to keep curiosity alive and empathy, then I feel like I've done something successful. Yes. A really silly way that I've learned how to do that is listening to my kids' music. Like if they want to listen to like Disney music, Descendants, a lot of Taylor Swift, since I studied production stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's listen to the layers here. How many vocal tracks are there? Is that a bass? Is it a synth? What do we got going on? What else is going on here? What's the panning on the vocal tracks? Like I go into that mode because if I say what I really think about it, I'm going to sit there and be like, I hate this melody. And I'm like,
this was both written and recorded by AI.
Exactly. Yes.
There are no humans touched to this. None of this is real.
And then I'm being a jerk to my kids for something that brings them joy. And I'm like, hey man, you can find good in a lot of things if you stop being such a dick.
Yes, you can. That's exactly right. And there's really the enduring thing we want to pass on to our children.
That's right.
It's true. Like, because they are experiencing so much and the world is just like more access to information and diversity of opinion. Like we spend a lot of time saying like we want to be a house. Like if you come in here and you're super into something that I'm really not, or you're really resonating deeply in the season you're in with something that I really don't. That's okay. We will go through that with you. We will support you, bring your whole self in here, and we're going to go on those journeys with you and I'm fine with you disagreeing with other people about some of these other things and different opinions that they have about that same stuff. Our one rule here is you have to be kind. It's just the only rule we have. We will listen to every perspective. We will talk at length about every perspective on everything. But the point at which the only thing I will correct you on really is you're not being kind though. Like you're not treating people in a kind, and it's honestly just a bad advertisement for whatever your opinions are. Because, if your opinions about, especially when it comes to things like spirituality, if whatever your opinions are not making you more kind, then that's not a good advertisement and no one's going to be interested. Like if you come to me and you're going to tell me all about this new thing that you found and this great thing that you believe, but it's making you bigoted and it's making you homophobic and it's making you, hateful and combative, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to hear about it. I'm not remotely interested. You've already persuaded me out of it, just seeing how it comes out of you. So either that's your fault or it's the thing's fault. In either case, this is not happening right now. But if you can manage to be kind, and you can look at people and you can listen to them and you can be willing to have thoughtful conversations and really be open to new information, but be kind. That is easily the best, most persuasive thing for your viewpoint. And it's regardless, you wind up walking away with a really healthy and sweet, maybe interaction with somebody who you don't agree with. And that would be the best. And it seems the most countercultural and counterintuitive thing in the world right now is just to try to be kind with people, and who was it that said like everyone's fighting a battle and you don't know what that battle is. And it's informing the way they're behaving right now. And everything, especially on social media, is a Rorschach.
Oh, yeah.
And so understand that people's outrage is telling you 100 times more about what they are seeing and what they believe and who they are, their opinions. There's like maybe no such thing as critical, objective criticism. There might only be unintentional confession.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing we're seeing is how people feel about everything, but not really anything about the thing itself. And that's going to be true about you too.
Yeah,
be careful. Do not receive information about yourself from the internet. That is not a safe place. The internet is not your friend.
I'm sure you have a lot of lessons you could teach us about what the internet has told you are, Derek, and who you actually are.
Receive no information about myself from the internet. But it's about like finding safe people, your people who you can hear from and listen to, and you can speak into their lives, and be careful. Don't treat everything the same way. And anyway, these are the things we talk about around.
Yeah. No, I think if my belief system, how I treat people is at the expense of someone else, then I should probably not do that. Well, I believe this because it screws that person over. Do you really want to do that?
Because it excludes these people, and that's what I like about it.
Correct. And I even have a lot of smug elitist tendencies based on the music that I've already told you that I listen to.
Right.
So but in my older...
Bon Iver, I don't respect.
Also, his third album, very experimental, very good. If you think about it. Yeah, exactly. It is, yes. Think of
my favorite. It's a top 5 record of all time.
Apartment number 29, beautiful, extremely weird. It's just...
The whole record.
So good. Anyway,
Look at you.
I'm proving my theory
I
correct.
love it. I love it.
You're going to go down a rabbit hole for the rest of the week thinking about it.
I really do want to go and look at a bunch of artists and be like, oh,
That's their third album. Oh, that is. That's
Oh.
whenever. Yep. It's a thing. No, just I think kindness, curiosity, and empathy. If I think of what's the best version of myself, is whenever I'm curious, empathetic, and kind. And whenever you tell your kid to act a way, if you aren't acting that way, your kid's going to know it immediately, and they're going to tell you it every single day. And so if you're going to choose a value system, choose one you can actually be. It's kind of helpful.
That's correct. Because exactly what you're saying, like, because if you're not also being empathetic and curious and kind in the way that you parent, you're gonna wind up down, you're gonna unravel that all the way down to just do it because I said so. Just because I said so. We don't need to talk about a thing. I don't need to
just do it. I said it. I'm your father.
I said I'm your father.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get, okay, I hear you parents. I know there is a point at which I get it. Sometimes that's the moment. But if that's your just immediately shortcut go to every single time, but why are we doing this? I want to talk about it. Don't talk back to me. Just do it because I said so. And I don't ever want you to talk to me about anything. Yeah. It's like, but no, be curious with them. Like you said, listen to their music. Yeah. Be kind, be empathetic. Imagine you're in their place and think about how you would want somebody to talk to you right now. And it's like, those are, yeah, no matter what else, no matter what they wind up doing, college, no college, professional, corporate, indie, whatever.
Yeah.
If they're being those three things, man, it's a leg up on everybody.
It is.
So it's better.
Right.
Life's better.
Yes. All right. I'm going to start wrapping down the episode. Okay. So Derek, how we end every episode is we ask every guest 5 questions. First question, do you remember if you had any backup names for your daughters? Like any names you almost named them?
Yes. Oh, sure.
Okay.
And what's interesting nowadays, yes, for sure.
Okay.
Is that like kids wind up either growing into names. A lot of kids wind up going by middle names. And then sometimes kids, come up with whole new names that just is so much more of an expression of who they are and that they want to go by, nicknames or chosen names and that sort of thing. And so, but yes, I mean, I think every parent, like the challenge is like, how many family members can we honor with this one name?
How many middle names can you have?
Yes, exactly. One of my kids has 2 middle names. So like 3 names and a last name and a nickname. So it's like 5.
Okay.
We're up to 5 on that kid. But anyways, and some, like, so for my, our 16-year-old, his name is Carter. There was a minute where my mom's mom, my grandmother on my mom's side, her name was Clementine. And there was a second where Clementine might've been the name, but it's like, it's like crazy how people wind up growing very much into their names. And it's this crazy thing that like you give them way before you know anything about them. Mm-hmm. But then it really does. You're like, whoa, that's look at that. Look at that kid, look at that kid being that name. So anyways, yes. Of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Do you have a favorite TV dad?
What a great question. It's so funny. As soon as you said it, and now I'm going to blame you because this is where we started our conversation before we even started recording, but is definitely going to be Michael Bluth.
Okay.
I mean, he's incredible. He was a single dad. And I mean, he did a great job with George Michael, obviously, if you're a Arrested Development fan. He did a great job with that kid. What a sweet kid. No, so I love Arrested Development. I love Michael Bluth. But like, you know what? I think that, so I was about to say Friday Night Lights. I was going to say Coach
Taylor.
Coach Taylor.
Yeah. I
think Coach Taylor is maybe one of the better TV husbands.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And TV dad, yes, but yeah, and wow, I'm so glad you didn't like prep me with this question because it's all I would have thought about for the last week.
Because you're like, I need the answer
I'm
here.
being totally serious. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be thinking about it all day, and I shouldn't say more because otherwise this will be another hour.
So this isn't one of the last 5 questions. But let's have one question for you. What do we always say comes first?
Breakfast.
Family.
Yeah, that's so great. What do we say? And it goes breakfast, family.
Upset.
Yeah, they say it on top of each other.
The tone, like the look of like despair in George Michael's eyes when it was like, this time it was family. It's family. So good. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Next question. Do you have a go-to replacement curse word? What was your like, I really want to say the F word, but I probably shouldn't. What was it?
Yep. Okay. So this might not be the answer that you're used to with this question, but we've always had kind of progressive views on this sort of thing.
Okay.
Because I'm a writer. And so like, I think a lot about language. I think words are really important, super important. And so from a very early age, just as early as I thought the kids would even remotely understand what I was saying, and hopefully before their other friends started to discover profanity, what we always said around our house was, there is no such thing as good words and bad words.
Okay.
We don't use that language. There's no such thing as bad words and good words. In other words, there is no inherent goodness or badness or like special or evil or, because that tends to be the thing, is like you hear the profanity, you're like, ooh, there's something bad and special about that word. And, when I say it, it's got some kind of power. It doesn't. It's a word. It's sounds you make with your mouth. If we went to another country, that word would be meaningless, or it could be a good thing. And there's things that we say in our language that are just sounds we make with our mouth that are absolute profanity in some other country. And so these things are relative. Any word can be, every word that you are using has a lot more to do with the intention that you're using it with. So it's like, any word could be a bad word if it's used to hurt somebody. And any other word could be useful if it's being used intentionally for a purpose. So the way we talked about around our house is, there's not good and bad words. There are sometimes words. There are some words that are just for sometimes. They're not for all the time. And sometimes words is how we would refer to profanity. And it's like, and so these words are, though, for sometimes. They're not never. And you can use them. And you can, because I do it in my music. I have put profanity, when I was still in my Christian music days, I would selectively put profanity into a moment of a song. And because that, for the same reason that like Tony Campolo had that great quote where he was in front of a bunch of church leaders and some giant thousands of seats, and in like Detroit or some city like that. And he said how happy he was to be there. And he's like, I'm just dismayed because as I came in here today, just to see the thousands of people who are homeless, who are living outside of this beautiful venue that we're all here warm and they're outside, there's thousands of homeless people right outside that we all walked right past to get in here. And nobody in this room seems to give a shit about it. And then he would pregnant pause and he would say, and the worst thing is that most of you are more outraged that I would use that word than you are outraged about the living conditions of all these people right outside this venue. And it's like, it's great judo. And so, I think it's useful. Profanity can be extremely useful. A siren on top of an important idea. Like, look over here. Profanity is quick about that. And so sometimes words, that's what we've always handled.
Next question. Do you have a favorite kid's toy or activity, something you did with your girls, maybe when they were grown up or so, that was like one of your favorite activities to do with them?
I mean, it was like a lot of Legos. Legos are the best. Like just the best creative toy. Minecraft is kind of the digital version.
Very much so.
It's like there's no point and there's no enemies and there's you just build crap everywhere. You just like take everything you can find and build stuff with it. So like stuff like that. I mean, I think I had some incredibly sweet memories of like early concerts, first concerts with each kid, and just how mind blowing, to be there the first time that a kid sees like an arena show. And like, and actually most recently, I mean, even well into teenage years, we've seen Billie Eilish the last 2 times that she's been through Nashville. And all of us just sob watching a show like that because of how much that music means to all of us. And anyway, so I think probably a lot of it for me is going to be music, but it's like being with them and knowing that like a question you answer your whole life is, what was your first concert? What were your first early memories of a concert, music, an album that you listened to? And so to get to be there fully aware when they're like having their first experiences and get to watch and be there and steward has been sweet. So I think it's probably something like that.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to switch up the last question just because I feel like this one would be fun to ask you. What was or what is your least favorite kids show? Like a show your kids used to watch all the time where like, I freaking hate this show. This show is trash. I know earlier to be curious about what they like, but at the same time, there's some entertainment where you just look there and you're like, this is trash and I hate this.
There's no redeeming it. There's no good quality.
Yes.
What a great question. I know that we were like we tried really hard because, when you have like parents who are all artists and stuff like that, like you want your house to be a place where they're not going to watch the absolute trash. Shows that are just like there to just numb and stun them,
entertain
them. And so there's gotta be though. I mean, here's what's crazy. And again, this is not the answer you're looking for, but what's crazy is very early on, what would substitute in the house for cartoons and things like that that we thought would be more constructive and interesting and good for their brains or whatever, is we would put on concerts, like concert films. And there were a handful that the kids grew up watching a lot and really knew really well. One of them is like, there's this Tom Petty show that he played in his hometown that was like part of a deluxe package of a thing we got. And it was like kind of late in his career, but it was incredible. And the kids knew like that thing front to back.
Yeah.
The Last Waltz, the band, the Martin Scorsese documentary about the band. Like that's one of those where like they'd be watching it and would say like Joni Mitchell was about to come out. They'd be like, Joni, like,
that's
and
cool.
Joni Mitchell, and like, I mean, it just knew all the songs
Yeah.
and knew like all the beats of it and like all the, and so I think that was kind of our little like, disruption to trying to have some of that. Like we've really tried to steer clear. And you know what's funny is like I can't recall. I definitely tried to force some Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood just because, my God.
It's Mr. Rogers. Yeah, of course.
Rogers, you know? I guess there's the Daniel Tiger now.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is in
same
the
family. Yep.
neighborhood thing, and which is really sweet. But I mean, he's such a hero. And anyway, so I wish I had like a great example of like the I don't know, even like the Wiggles, or I don't know. Is that even a thing?
I don't know if it is anymore. I mean, the Wiggles were like early 2000s. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't really know. But I think we managed to dodge a lot of those.
Well done.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well
I mean, careful. I'm not. Yeah.
I mean, where it normally came for us was like we would be able to not control. That's an awful word. We'd be able to moderate or whatever what they were watching, and then they would go to school or like daycare or something. And they'd be like, "I want to watch da 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 da," and we're like, dang it. Or they do like a sleepover, and they're like, "I'll watch this show," and I'm like,
"They found its way into our lives."
And then you're like, the show doesn't hurt anything. It's a connection with their friends. It's all good, but. Hey, how about your mom sits here and watch it with you? I'm going to go on like how is it 22 minutes an episode? I'm going to go on a 22-minute walk.
Okay. I am recalling all these Baby Einstein YouTube videos that it was just like, and that wasn't, the only thing annoying about those was like, this stuff is huge. It's the biggest brand. It was so giant.
Yeah, it was huge.
And be watching these videos, and it would be like a toy and a hand slowly picking a thing up and putting it on the top, and the little penguin going down the thing, and then the weird hand coming and putting it on, and that for like 45 seconds. And then another thing with like a weird manicured hand coming over and doing a thing slowly and moving a toy over to here. And it's just all this. And I was just like,
what is this?
Like, I'm in the wrong business, dude.
Yeah.
I could be doing this. Like, what is this? And why is this Einstein? Why are we geniuses for watching this? Anyway, so that
one where you're like, oh, someone created this content. Oh my God, how many views does this have? Oh my God.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
right. Oh my God.
Exactly.
I could do better than this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Derek, only other thing is a moment for self-promotion. I know you got a new album coming, all that. If we want to follow you on Instagram, how do we follow you, find your music, all that good stuff, you know?
Yes. DerekWebb. That's how you spell it. DerekWebb.com. I'm at Derek Webb on all the socials, I guess. And I have a new record that's called Survival Songs. And it is, if for you or the loved one or a friend in your life, the queer or trans person, especially queer youth is a lot of, because I think that is the folks who seem to be under the most threat and the most danger in our society right now. And so these songs were written specifically for my loved ones and friends in the queer community, and 9 songs, and it's out, or it will be out as people are hearing this.
Yeah.
And I would love for people to find it and share it with folks who they think might be encouraged by the tunes, feel less alone by hearing the tunes. And so, I would love that. DerekWebb.com or whatever. And
you're doing a tour where you do mostly house shows. Is that right?
Yes,
coming
that's
up?
all I do. It's all I do.
Yeah.
I'll be hiding out in somebody's living room or a yoga studio or an empty parking lot. Like I do house shows in all kinds, not just houses. Like, and weirdly, a lot of churches are hosting house shows on this tour, which is cool. I mean, any church that will have me and host me at this point tells me a lot about that church.
Correct.
And the people who will tend to come see my shows. That we all feel safe going into the church if they volunteer to host me, then they must be an okay place.
Yeah.
So there's a whole tour all the way to end of the year and probably well into 26. Yeah. So I'll be in somebody's living room somewhere. Come and say hi.
Perfect. Derek, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Derek.
Absolutely.
Of course. We'll catch you next time and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you for listening to the episode.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wildfeathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.